Welcome to episode 97 of UncommonCents. Dean Holmes here with my special guest today, Paul Slezak. Paul is a leadership and team coach, and we're going to learn a lot about what he does in terms of facilitating conversations between teams, as well as the coaching he does to team leaders and business owners about running their teams and getting the best out of them over time. Paul, welcome to UncommonCents. You've been prompting me for an invitation for a little bit of time, so it's great that we've been able to get you along.
Thanks,
Can you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing recently with teams and your experience?
Yeah, I think, and first of all, thanks for having me. And most recently, I've been very lucky to be flying around this country and around the world. Over the last 2 months, I've literally done that. And I've been working with some really amazing teams and team leaders, both at the, I guess, almost startup level, but also some pretty big organizations where I've been working with some national offices and just seeing why team leaders are really focusing now, probably more than I've seen before, on the effectiveness of their teams, of the interconnectedness and collaboration going on in their teams. And it's something I love doing. And if you can explain to a business owner or a leader the importance of that connectedness, not just between them and their team, but between the team itself, you see a step change. And I've been able to see that over the last few months. So happy to share some stories. It's been good.
Amazing. So that's the kind of detail that we're going to go into. And I always think about sporting analogies and all sorts of other analogies when we think about teams and the teamwork and striving together to get the results. Is coaching and sport analogies still appropriate in this world where we're not connected anymore?
You can't have players in a sports game who are on different fields.
Exactly. So
in different time zones.
We need to throw it out, what we've done in the past.
It's still, when you're talking about bringing a team together with a compelling purpose or towards a common goal, and that's probably some form of win, so there can still be the sporting analogy there. But I am dealing with very distributed organizations, either remote first or hybrid. So no, it's not a traditional sporting analogy where everyone's running in the same direction together and they can see each other, but they're still hopefully running in the same direction and they still need to be coached towards that goal. So I believe the analogy is still there.
Good. Okay. We'll run with it as we go through, of course. And so the themes of the technology and AI, we do have to be thinking and talking about this, and it is a buzzword, but it's an important component. How are you helping teams and leaders to communicate better using our digital technology, as opposed to having everyone has to be in the office on Wednesdays to have a team meeting? How is it changing in the current world?
I think when we look at different sorts of organizations here first, and there are some organizations that are wanting to be AI first, and there are some organizations that are wanting to be AI enabled. And then there are actually still some organizations burying their head in the sands going, oh, maybe this will go away. And
AI is a fad, we'll call it.
and it won't. But I think it is very interesting when you look at the difference between the AI first and the AI enabled. With the AI first, and there are organizations saying we want to be the first in our industry, we want to be the best here using AI. Some team members can feel quite nervous about that. If they're not up to speed or they haven't actually been able to just understand everything that it can do. And let's face it, if we talk about something now, by this afternoon, it will have changed.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
We've got to be very careful. And part of my role is educating leaders to not want to use AI as a cost-cutting measure and to eliminate people, but to educate their people to embrace the AI, use it, get better at what they're doing, but not to be fearing that their jobs are going to be gone.
Yeah.
Because that's causing some friction when all of this technology is coming in and they're thinking, will my role be redundant at some point? And that then causes even more isolation, particularly in the remote environments. With the AI-enabled organizations, they're doing it so much more collaboratively, and they're actually allowing team members to experiment with different technology, make suggestions for what can be used, what's going to help the team, what's going to help the organization, and they're experimenting. And that's cool when you can see that the team members are allowed to actually initiate. To your point from our chat earlier, start innovating and not wait for the instruction to come down.
Yeah, okay. So if we continue that discussion on the AI enabled, that's actually a different style of communication from the leadership in relation to saying these tools are available. We want you to learn and experiment with them. And the leader needs to give this context of we're doing this to improve our individual roles, not to delete our role. Because why would I use AI and teach AI how to do my job if then I'm going to get the sack?
Correct. But it's also not just the upper leadership saying this is what's available. It's upper leadership saying, people go out and look at what's available, and they're open to the suggestions from the team members. Look, I've found this, I've identified this, let's experiment with this. And they're saying, yeah, let's give it a go. Let's see what we can do. But to your point, exactly, it's not to the point of them thinking, oh, it's so good, I'm done.
Yep, absolutely. And so these high-performing teams that are now starting to experiment, what are the habits that we can learn that they're putting into place around maybe the feedback loop of, I discovered something, I've got to tell everyone else, I've learned something, and how does this habit loop come back in terms of high-performing teams?
Yeah, in a pretty structured way, actually. It's a really good point, because I've seen organizations where the teams or the Slack chats are just exploding with, I've found this, I've found this, I've found this, and people get so overwhelmed. The best structured conversations are, whether it's on a weekly or say a fortnightly basis, the team will come together and people will have their opportunity to present what they've found.
Yep.
So rather than every 10 seconds, it can do this, I just got it to do this. Hold it back, bring your evidence, bring a little case study into the actual full unpack where the whole team's there. And then people are feeling less overwhelmed by that relentless, it's not a competition, but it can do so many things. And people are getting it to do so many things, but we don't need every 2 minutes to be told what it's doing.
Because I don't have time to assess all those things.
And then people ignore those channels and they're not interested. Whereas when the group comes together for this true collaborative leadership piece, that there is that sharing, there is that teamness and that interconnectedness and that almost compelling vision to, let's all look at this together. It's not a competition.
Yep. And are you finding that still there's one or two people in the organizations that are just leading the experiment nature because they got the most kind of core knowledge
or core interest? There are people fascinated by this stuff. And we could flip your question. There are always going to be one or two people not interested. Not just that they're scared, but they're just busy doing what they're doing. And they're thinking, all right, I'll wait to be told what's out there and I'll give it a go, but I don't have to be the one to go and find it. But of course, there'll be people driving the initiatives. Absolutely.
And it's not I think if I talk to the people that are not experimenting, it's not always the wrong thing. Like I've spoken to leaders where they're going, oh, some of my staff just haven't even tried AI. And it's, maybe you haven't empowered them. You haven't even showed them the first two steps, or they're actually scared to do it because they're currently doing their day job.
Yeah. The most important point there, Dean, is they haven't been told why. It's not just go out there and look. It's why are we looking? What are we potentially going to do with this? How is this going to make your job better, not redundant? How are you actually going to be able to collaborate more with people around you who are all using this? If they can paint what success looks like from this and explain why they're wanting the experiments and the research done, people have a little bit more clarity, as opposed to it's a AI must and there's no choice here.
Yep. Good point. So good things for us to reflect on our AI journey with teams, and acknowledging that there's different levels of base interest and different levels of base skill at the start of the organization. So Paul, just changing tacks a little bit, just in relation to high performing teams and team collaborations. We've all seen those probably American movies with the trust falls, where the person falls back or falls forward accidentally in that, and the team offsites where you have to share your most embarrassing story in order to build trust. What's the 2025 version of this? Is it do those things actually, did they ever work in high performing teams, or was it just is it outdated now?
I think taking people out of the office and to an offsite, getting them together, yes, there's always a place for that. But not just to build trust and not just to build collaboration. And meeting in person is a wonderful thing to do. I know I can spend days here like this, but when I go and see people in real life, there's a connection there. But I think for true collaboration, especially now where so many teams are hybrid or remote, fully distributed, bit of a mix and match, it's around just making sure that there is that compelling purpose, that there is a vision that we keep coming back to and reminding the team, this is what we're here for. It's not for the pizza, it's not for the trust fall. There is a goal, and can we all articulate that? Do we all believe in it? And are we actually feeling this sense of we're bounded by the fact that we all work here? Do we understand what it is that we're really here to be doing? And in some way, really, are we stable, or are we feeling there's so much change going on, whether it's from the technology or rapidly scaling up, and people can start to feel quite isolated with the speed with which a company is moving, either with tech or with hiring or with strategy changes, etc. And it's just always checking in. Are we all here? Are we all on the northbound train? Are we all on the bus? And do we know why we're doing this? And you can do that on-site, off-site, remotely, like this. It's just checking in.
And how passionate does everyone need to be about that North Star? So there will be a range, and there's a range in the organizational chart. And if we just pick the top and the bottom, the one at the top, I would say, came up with most of the strategy and is probably quite passionate about where the company's going. The person at the bottom, how passionate do they really need to be in the company? Do they have to have drunk the same Kool-Aid as the CEO to feel connected and to be part of that high performing team?
There's a really cool story actually where there was a consulting firm going into NASA, and they were talking to everybody in the organization. And it was one evening, and they bumped into one of the janitors, and they said, "Oh, what do you do?" And the janitor said, "I fly people to the moon." It's not about the Kool-Aid, it's about believing in the big picture of what is this entire place here to do. And you don't have to be obsessed about it. You don't have to think every single minute, it's for this, it's for this. But as long as you know where your contribution sits and how it feeds up into the next level and how that might feed up into the next level, obviously the higher you go, there needs to be more obsession about it and compulsion towards the successful outcome. But you don't want people lower down who go, I'm literally just here for me. And that's where this silo idea comes up. Whereas the most successful teams are operating much more as ecosystems and not allowing silos to build, or not allowing isolation to set in, where someone can feel very disconnected and then lose that vision and lose that purpose. But still stay and do their job, but have lost the vision.
Correct. They've lost the vision. And that's a good reminder for us in our financial planning businesses to know that we want all of our team to understand what we do and why we do it. And one of the great stories that I have is when we went to the Philippines, we took the time to tell the team there the real kind of client impact that the business made, with an emphasis on making sure that they understood the part that they played in that role. Okay. And so of all the sessions that we did, Paul, this was the most valuable for our Filipino team, because they actually saw and started to understand the impact that the business made, because they're not in the client meetings, just like your janitor is not in the rocket. So they don't get to see the end part of the journey. So taking the time to share those stories, I think, is a really good step in terms of everyone understanding what the company does.
And that's coming back to another phrase that I like to bring in, I tell leaders all the time, obviously there's the concept of like KPIs, but I don't use KPI for the key performance indicator. I say, keep your people informed, keep your people interested, keep your people inspired, and keep your people involved. So those four: KPI, involved, informed, inspired, and interested. That's part of what you've just said, letting them understand where they fit into all of this and keep them up to date on their little widget did this and this, and it got up to there. The way they've had to interact or why they're completing this particular process, it impacts this and this.
Yeah, amazing. And so I'll put the 4 KPIs in the notes as well. Is that yours or is that you?
I read that a long time ago, but it really resonates with me because there are some leaders obsessed on the metric, the KPI, and sometimes I just come in and say, let's just revisit this. Are your people informed, inspired, interested?
And absolutely. That's really good. So in terms of just continuing on this remote work journey, it's here to stay, I would say, in terms of the reality. Like, we're both working from our home offices at the moment. What lessons in traveling the world have you seen about the remote work today? What's the best groups doing to get high performing teams?
It's very interesting that you should ask this, because this morning I was talking to a client in the US, big organization, and they've actually just mandated that anyone who lives within 60 miles of a headquarters is expected to go in every day. 60 miles. So there's a lot of commuting happening and a lot of resistance to that. They've allowed anyone who was hired previously to remain, I think it's 3 days in, 2 days out, but they're starting to bring a little bit more of in the office being more compulsory. But the ones that are remote and are doing it extremely well moved slightly from having just, say, a one-on-one every week that might have gone for an hour with each of their direct reports. Now, spattering through the week with maybe 3 or 4 15-minute check-ins. So there's more visibility to just, oh yeah, they're there and I trust them that they're working, but I'll only check in with somebody for an hour on a Wednesday. And that's the only time they were seen. And then there's also the idea, and I had this with my team many years ago, where you just encourage people to connect and not talk about work. So you encourage people to have lunches together, afternoon chats together, as if they were going for a walk to the cafe, walk for around the block with a coffee, but just talk, not task, but just how are you? And they're encouraging really this idea of the well-being piece being critical, and the fact that their people are all asking each other and checking in as we would in the office, and not just hiding behind Slack or Teams, where people can get very siloed again when they feel they've been collaborating because they're in a shared document or they're all contributing to something in SharePoint. That's not true collaboration. That's the technology collaboration. But really suggesting true check-in, but not just once a week or once a fortnight. Do it constantly. And sometimes even have an open Zoom room. Just check in, jump in and say hi to people.
And that's it. And Paul, is this just top down, like leader say, let's go for a 15-minute walking meeting?
No,
and
it's across.
But it's across.
Absolutely. Yep. That peer-to-peer check-in, or that, in my world, I call it team coaching, but it's not the leader coaching. It's just offering that people help each other and just checking with each other, random. It doesn't need to be, if this is in the calendar, you're allowed to just ping people and check in, because that's what you would do in an office. You'd walk up to someone and go, want to grab a coffee? How you going? How's your day? Not, I can only ask you at 2:45 because you go green and I'm allowed to call you then.
Okay.
And so combining old world with new world.
How do we do that, Paul? How do you encourage that in a company?
As a coach, I would encourage the leader to bring that in as a requirement. So it's not a suggestion. It's almost now part of the performance management of staff are, are you checking in? Are you aware of what your peers are doing? And it's almost mandatory to have time together, not just a team meeting or a one-on-one, but time together without the team. in there.
And knowing that collaboration is building the bonds between people over time.
Yes. Yeah.
Might be really awkward on the first one, but like getting to know anyone in general. If you and I hadn't known each other and we went for a walk to get to know each other, we start at really high level things. Do we like sport? Do we both eat spaghetti? Like, you start very high in the conversation, and eventually you find things that there might be a connection on, and you get deeper over time. And so this time that you might spend with your colleagues, it's not how is your whole family tree going and how are you supporting everyone. It can be very simple at the start, right?
Yeah, correct. I've got a colleague, and his phrase is less pirate and more navy. So don't be isolated or be rebellious about this. Just come in together, and the whole system is doing this. You're not just being asked to do this because something's wrong with you and you're pushed back. We are all going to do this, and then we'll all be in sync, and we'll all understand why we're doing this together. It's that group why and that group purpose. A leader is not saying you have to be more communicative or you've got to be more collaborative. Everyone does. We do.
We all do. Yes.
We all do. If we are all remote, we all do.
And so I'd like to challenge and call out that just forcing your team to go into the office 2 days a week doesn't guarantee that you've solved that, because as what I hear from corporates, you might have this as well. There's a desk problem, Paul. So everyone says you've got to come in 3 days a week, and then everyone gets there and realizes there's not enough desks.
Yeah.
So then the days in the week that you all get there can't be the same. And so you don't get the collaboration that you thought you got from forcing people to come 100%.
In. And worse than that is when you go into the office because you're told, but you spend all day on Teams or on Zoom because the people that you're speaking to aren't in. And so literally you've sat there with headphones on all day and you came in and you haven't collaborated any differently than if you were working remotely. So if you're in and you're actually teaming, you're not in, but no one else is in, or you're not in and Zooming like this.
Understood. And so it's a really important thing about how we think about the cadence of work. When are you doing like keyboard warrior work? Like, when are you typing stuff and doing that type of work? And then when are you doing the other team related work where you're collaborating and inventing things or moving things, innovating things, which we'll get onto? They're two different pieces of work, and understanding when you host those things is really important for teams.
And the message behind it. This is why we're doing this today. This is why we're getting you to come in next week. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so one interesting observation, just in terms of being in the office and out of the office at different points in time, the open planned office of collaboration and the like versus going to some offices. I went to one yesterday where everyone had their own office. So they were in their office with their 3 screens. If you're listening, you know who you are. In their office with their 3 screens each, just doing their own work. And where's the potential for collaboration if they're all in their own rooms?
There isn't any, and there isn't interconnectedness. That's just a presence. That's just literally in the office. If you take the walls out, take the doors down, and still have 3 screens, but someone's just here next to you, you can just start to collaborate a little bit more. So there needs to be, again, that expectation as to why and what do we mean by this.
Yep.
And in the work that I do around team effectiveness, there's the concept of the right people in the real team with a compelling purpose, and not just having a team in name only or being in the office by definition physically. If you haven't got that collaboration happening, if you haven't got that more communication happening, if you're behind 3 screens, you could be anywhere, literally.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, indeed. Okay, so Paul, the last thing that I wanted to talk about, Craig and I have spoken about this a little bit in the past as well, is this concept of innovation versus invention, and trying to focus our teams on the innovation side, in that what I like to say, financial planning is not changing that much, that we have to reinvent things, but encouraging teams to have this mindset of making appropriate, small, innovative changes over time, and getting teams to do this, to go, oh, that process was good, but it could be better. How do we actually improve that over time so we make it better next time?
Yeah.
What's your lessons around how teams implement something and then innovate that process quickly to be able to make it better the next time?
I think quickly can literally be 1% or 2%. And I say this to leaders in one-on-one coaching as well. If you make a tiny change, but do that repeatedly, all of a sudden there's going to be a bit of a transformation happening. And so to encourage the groups, and this could be whether it's one small piece of AI assistance, it's not recreating the entire process. It's, can this component speed up? Or can this component be replaced? Or can I do this a little bit faster? That's this idea of innovation, as opposed to canceling that whole thing and starting from scratch, which can be very overwhelming. And often people realize, you know what, it's actually not that different to what we had before. And so encouraging people to try small experiments, share as we talked about with the AI research, share the outcomes of those small experiments. And can my little experiment be repeated by you over there? And therefore 2 or 3 people in the organization, and then you start to see this capability uplift and
Innovation happens. And I find that really important, because if the change is major, people fall back to their own habits. And I've seen that it's on again, off again with AI, for example, is that everyone embraced AI and then they'll do my meeting notes and file notes and things like that. And then talk to them 2 months later and they went back to their old habits. I've been forgetting to record the meeting. I've been forgetting to do that. I've gone back to my old habits. And it's this change that has to happen, but slowly, to stay in your new habit as well. So that innovation is there.
It's another whole topic. It's another whole topic, this idea of the change, because it's not the change that people are fearing or it's overwhelming. It's actually a fear of losing something because of that change. And it could be the familiarity of doing something. It could be the certainty with which they're doing it. So again, it's another big topic, this whole idea of fearing the loss of ... But you're absolutely right. The reason they fall back is because it's comfortable again.
Yeah.
To what I know and what I like. But the 1% shifts or the small shifts, someone's not overwhelmed. They're not fearing some massive loss because it's so tiny. But then the tiny ones build, and so, oh, that changed over the quarter.
That changed over time, and I'm now pretty comfortable with it. And just you still have to have that. It's a mini growth mindset to go, actually, I just want to make this slightly better every time that I do it, versus, hey, we're not doing it this way at all anymore. We're going to go do it this way. And for everyone then gets forced or told the new way. And I can appreciate that it's daunting as a result.
That's when the fear of losing something comes in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell the teams is that AI is more about change management than technology.
Correct.
Technology is there, but we have to grow and change our teams.
And change management is about fear management.
Yeah, there you go. So we conclude with that. Paul, what did I forget to ask you that you want to tell us about teams?
I think we've covered quite a bit. There's no direct question, but there's only 20% of teams are actually effective, 1 in 5. And the ones that are really focus on this idea of interconnectedness and collaboration. So we've talked about it. It wasn't a direct question, but I think it's important for people to realize if they feel like they're struggling in this area, they're in the majority. And there are things that you can do. There are steps that you can take and small ideas you can focus on to just make your team feel more connected, especially when they're remote, especially.
Yeah, and the connection, to conclude that point, you're saying that the connection is true, it's like knowledge of one another, human connection, not connection that we both know how to do a task, we're connecting as colleagues at the end of the day in the
Knowing
work that we
why we're here, really understanding that we are here as more than just a label of a team, but we are truly here. And we're all on board the northbound train together.
Yep, absolutely. So that's a good reminder for us all to reflect on today's conversation, is just with your entire team, top to bottom, is just at different levels, working down the list and making sure that they're all understand where the company is today, where the company needs, where you want the company to go or your business to go, and make sure they're aware of that, as you say, the northbound train, and contributing towards that vision over time, even if it's 1% improvements towards that over time.
100%. Spot on.
Amazing. Thank you, Paul Slezak. It's great to see you again. I know we've spent a lot of time together over the years. So Paul's website and information, if you want to reach out and have discussion with him about teams, will be in the notes and everywhere on YouTube and LinkedIn as well. But Paul, thanks for joining us and spending some time with us today.
Thanks, Dean. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.